It feels like genuinely good movies this year have been harder to come by than critics of Sydney Sweeney who aren't tipping the scales at over £400. After a summer movie season that failed to leave much of an impression, I wasn't exactly hopeful heading into August. The traditional graveyard for films studios didn't have much faith in, but if there was any reason to be cautiously optimistic, it was Weapons, a horror thriller from Zach Cregger that explores the eerie disappearance of an entire class of children from a small town. The trailer definitely grabbed my attention. That said, I've been burned before. 28 years later had a killer preview too, and look how that turned out. But surprisingly, Weapons actually lived up to the hype. This is the kind of film we don't see enough of anymore. A gripping, creatively structured mystery that hooks you from the first scene. It features a strong cast that sells both the emotional weight of the events and the complexity of their roles, all wrapped in an atmosphere that slowly builds tension and unease, leading to a bloody, intense finale. As a horror film, it genuinely gave me chills in its darkest moments. But it also functions as a compelling character study, an exploration of flawed individuals grappling with trauma, secrets, and loss. The mystery unfolds gradually, rewarding viewers who pay close attention. It's not told in a straightforward way, which keeps you guessing and constantly re-evaluating what you think you know. I'll keep plot details minimal to avoid spoilers, but if you're going in completely blind, fair warning, skip ahead, though I won't pretend I'm not a little bitter about it. The film begins in the quiet town of Maybrook, where 17 school children mysteriously vanish after simultaneously getting up in the middle of the night and running off into the darkness. Strangely, they all belonged to the same class, and only one student, Alex, is left behind with no clue what happened to his classmates. Naturally, suspicion lands on their teacher, Justine, who's put on leave while the police investigate. As her world unravels, she turns to alcohol and is haunted by disturbing dreams involving the missing kids and a shadowy woman lurking in the background. Driven to uncover the truth, she begins digging deeper, and what she finds at Alex's house sets off a chain of increasingly dark revelations. Meanwhile, another parent named Archer takes matters into his own hands. With a background in construction, he starts mapping the kids' movements on the night they disappeared, determined to find his son. As their paths cross, the investigation unearths something far more sinister than anyone anticipated. Cregger has cited Magnolia as an inspiration for the film's structure, and it shows. The story unfolds through a non-linear narrative, jumping between timelines and perspectives. Just when a major twist or moment of confusion hits, the film rewinds to show events from a different angle. This method adds layers to the mystery and cleverly fills in the blanks as it goes along. What really surprised me, though, was how often the movie steps back from typical horror beats to dive into deep, character-driven drama. Horror films don't usually take the time to flesh out their characters like this, but Weapons does so effortlessly. The emotional baggage, personal failings, and buried secrets of each character are just as vital to the story as the supernatural or horrific elements. The performances are a standout across the board. Julia Garner, Josh Brolin, Benedict Wong, and Alden Ehrenreich all deliver. But it's Garner who leaves the biggest impression. She evolves over the film from a timid teacher to a broken alcoholic, then a frightened victim, and finally a resilient survivor. Every phase of her transformation feels believable and earned. There's also a deeper theme at play here. how trauma can fracture tight-knit communities, breeding paranoia and scapegoating. The town's desperation to understand what happened mirrors real-world responses to tragedies like mass shootings. It's hard to miss the allegory, especially with a title like Weapons, but the film never feels preachy. The messaging is subtle, leaving room for interpretation rather than forcing an agenda. And on the horror front, Weapons brings real suspense. In an era where horror often feels stale or uninspired, this film genuinely had my nerves on edge. It's rare for a movie to have me both eager and anxious to see what comes next, but this one pulled it off. At over 2 hours, it's a longer ride than most horror flicks, but it never drags, which is probably the highest compliment I can give. It's a slow burn for sure, but the payoff is worth it. The story is layered, the pacing tight, and the scares well earned. Weapons stands out as a genuinely compelling option for fans of horror, mystery, or just great storytelling. If you're looking to end the summer with something memorable, this is one to check out.